ambassador. And what else? Yeah, focusing on ECAS in terms of platform engineering, and then this new AI agents and AI agents on ECAS. Nice to meet everyone.
Awesome. Can you pass it to the next person, please?
Stefan Braiku.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, Stefan Breikel, I'm also part of Alship, software engineering, and one of the contributors of the tooling around agentic and also agents. Very interested in the entire agentic environment.
Welcome.
Yeah, so then maybe Charles.
We can hear you, Charles, if you could see your microphone.
That's fine, I'll go.
Go ahead, Satish. Yeah.
My name is Satish Patil. I'm a migration SA. I'm just curious to learn about agentic AI and also contribute.
Awesome. Great.
Thank you.
I can go next.
Go for it.
My name is Gaurav. I'm a solution architect here at AWS. I work with one of our large strategic customers, and I'm particularly focused on platform engineering as well as agentic AI in context of platform engineering. Nice to meet everyone. And I can hand it over to Anuj from AWS.
Yeah, thanks, Gaurav. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Anuj Patel, Principal Solution Architect with AWS. I'm being part of the Canoe initiative from this year onwards, and I'm interested to know what's happening in the agentic AI space for platform engineering.
Welcome. I think Charles, are you back? Maybe, are you able to speak? Yep. Go ahead if you're able to join. Yeah. Is it just me or can you guys hear Charles?
No, I don't hear Charles.
Yeah, I think we need to get your microphone fixed. Sorry about that. And let's go to a couple of Cisco folks. If you all wanna come off mute and say hi. Ifan, if you wanna come off mute, and then we'll go to Arthur and let's see.
Hi there, I'm Ifan. Currently an intern at Alship, so working on the evaluation of the AI platform engineering.
Hi, I'm Arthur, also an Outshift. Been working on agentic platform engineering for almost a year now, and yeah, keen to join in the conversation.
I think we missed. Sunny has it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sounds good. Yeah, so I'm more recent to Outshift. Currently working on creating a Helm chart for the new mono repo we're creating. Hopefully I'm getting there. I'll be able to definitely demo next Thursday. Yeah, nice to meet everyone.
Wow, great, thank you.
Hi guys, yeah, I lead platform engineering at Outshift.
Thanks, Hasid. Hasid is one of our core members and my manager. So we'll go to Pankaj. Pankaj has been leading the Canoe OSS side of things. So Pankaj, go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Pankaj. I work at AWS and I'm part of Canoe initiative. I work with Carlos, Anuj, and all of the other AWS folks here. I'm a containers specialist SA, focusing on EKS and platform engineering. Thank you.
I think we got everybody. Charles, we'll try one more time if it doesn't work out.
Yes, is this any better? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better. Yes.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'm also working with the kind of Cisco Outsource team as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Atul? Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is Atul. I'm from Salesforce, and I'm part of a team which manages the Kubernetes clusters at Salesforce. And we are also interested in learning more about AI agents and how we are leveraging it. So this is my first meeting, but I'm really looking forward to learn more. Thank you.
Yeah, very nice to meet you, Atul. Yeah, we'll do some demos of what we have in stable tags, how we are evaluating, how we're trying to productionize all of the agents that we built. And this is continuous work in progress, but we have a stable situation right now with our containers and multi-agent system. We'll touch on that. Let me move to like how we are organized. And before I do that, any general questions? And have you all looked at the agenda? And is there anything else you would like to add to this agenda for today?
Just the one I mentioned, like progress or status on the mono repo, and then also I put a one in there for folks to promote in their social internal organization, a recent live stream that me, Sri, and Hasif did on the on YouTube and LinkedIn this week.
Yeah, perfect.
At least it got a lot of attention inside AWS.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great, Carlos. And yeah, we're seeing some traffic on my LinkedIn as well, so that's amazing. I think Atul, this would be a good opportunity to also catch up on like what is the overall you know mission of this group and some of the demos we put together in that podcast. That would be great for you to catch up on and re-promote. All right. Moving on to a quick roadmap. So the way the roadmap is positioned here, you go to canoe.io.org. Under projects, there is a public roadmap page, SIG Agentic AI. Carlos, as you mentioned, we're going to move all the issues to the monorepo. Right now, they're anchored on the Agentic AI. I'll re-anchor them. I think that was a good consideration.
I think the issues was 3 years ago, but I think now today GitHub offers the option of like going to an issue and then an option like move to a different repo, and they make that process smooth. I remember writing automation scripts back in the days, but I think now it's easier, I believe.
We might I'm fingers crossed we might be able to use that agent too. Really, I think I could try.
Yes. The thing I want to avoid is creating a new issue or like somebody going manually and recreating that should not be it. Like there's a button on. I think there's a button on issues that
there is a transfer button.
But agent will be a good experiment. Just try one issue, like move this issue number something from this repo to that repo to the GitHub agent, and then prove
if we are
out
adventurous,
on
we can try it,
right?
Yeah, if we are adventurous, we could we really could try it live.
I'm using agents to do GitHub stuff like open APRs, write a summary description in the description of APR.
So
it's amazing.
We could, as adventurous as we are, we could try move GitHub issue 18 in agentic AI to AI.
Oh, you're going to do it now live. Cool.
Yeah.
You're more brave than me. Let's see.
Living on the edge, right? In Canoe or let's see, right? I think we live and breathe.
Soon we just create issues and then assign the issues to the AI platform agent, and then we don't have to do. We just talk here and drink coffee and tea.
So now it's telling us to click the transfer button. So it's very interesting how.
Yeah, tell it to do it.
Yeah, it wants us to do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's good validation to check. But folks, this is the iteration view of the AI platform engineering, and I created a roadmap view of. I think we can expand on maybe a dot release and state. We have a stable tag. We can work towards a 0.0.1 release here, and we can include various sub issues here. The overall goal of the platform engineering multi-agent system is a collection of different sub agents, like all your platform engineering agents, GitHub, Argo CD, Slack, what have you, along with knowledge base agents, like bring, a RAG agent that you can use to index your own playbooks, along with GraphRag that we demoed in the last session, Nexigraph, where you can create relationships within your data platform, whether it's Kubernetes to AWS accounts and other entities, and be able to create a very powerful platform engineer. So that's the direction we are going towards. I won't go through every one of these things, and we could do some more detailed planning. If you have any thoughts about what should be included in this release, just add a comment and we can do some offline work around composing that. And I can bring a view of this in the next session. So that's what we want to work towards. And one of the, and this is, yeah, let me pause here and see if there are any questions and if there is
So
any good way to plan
this,
this. Yeah.
I have one comment or question. Is this you're thinking that for this first milestone release, we just do a tag on the repo, and that's a release? I thought we also had plans on using the mono repo and then doing releases of the subcomponents.
Yeah.
In addition to that, or as a little bit, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So we have two things happening. One is you have, as you mentioned, all of these individual component repos that need to have their own release cadence. And what I think the roadmap item I mentioned here is the platform engineer persona, which is where I think everybody can use a composition of all of these agents. So
Okay.
I don't know what is a good way to plan this, because every individual agent will have its own tag. It
Yeah.
can get a little bit messy, but we could just stay with.
Well, I think like
everything
you
is
have
stable.
down here, right? An image, this image of the Argo CD agent, right, will have a tag
Yeah.
V101, right?
Yep.
And then the Uber tag
Yep.
is the top level one, which is we just tag the whole repo, right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
And then eventually, when we have more people or more agentic automation, when we want to release something, we just create a tag of what is in main, and then it will go with whatever versions people are bumping, or we can have something like renovate or something that bumps that stuff in main and not necessarily have to be released, right? In main, it's just moving target until we just create a tag, and then there it goes. There's a new Uber release, and the bots or the automation just summarize what is in the changes. Typical GitHub releases.
Yeah, so let me bring up the discussion page here. And I would probably also think we should move our discussions to.
Yeah, this is a different discussion. I think we have a discussion of the directory structure. The other one could be just release strategy or how we cut releases or something like that, right? So people can
Let's
contribute.
create it in the other repo itself. So we'll go here and everyone can pitch in here.
Yeah.
Let's see, proposal. So how to, release sub multi artifacts, sub agents, MCP servers. CLI. So I think semantic version is definitely the way to go. And we could use something like XYZ component name or agent name. Would that be helpful to have the agent name in the semantic version so that we know that if we for tags?
No,
if
no,
you-
I don't think we need the dash agent name. Just leave it as semantic versioning. Because we may have we're going to have other components that are going to be released, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a library, maybe utility. I think we have an utility Python library package that is not an agent. Maybe we have an MCP that is not an agent. So just semantic versioning for the different subcomponents.
Yeah. So I guess the secondary question is, should that semantic version match a Git tag?
Yes, so that's why I share some other examples of like how Helm does it. So yeah, I know what you mean. So the
There is like a
the
dependency.
GitHub tag will have a version and the component name in the tag. I think I share an example. I can put it in the notes of an example how
If you can
Helm
put that
does it.
in the notes here in the release, that would
Yeah,
be.
the example is like there's a mono repo with a bunch of Helm charts, and every time you want to release one of those Helm charts, there's a new release. It's a GitHub action take care of that automation. Humans are not in the loop.
Yeah, I think that building that kind of muscle would help us, and then use those tags to in the Uber tag. This is
Exactly. Yeah.
Uber multi-agent Docker tag. This is sub agent. I'm going to save this. Carlos, if you can add some notes here.
Yep.
What we are really trying to get to is how do we create a release versioning of these compositions. So when we release individual agents, MCP servers, and we'll have an architecture for folks who haven't seen this. I'm going to flash this again. So really at a simplistic level, we have a Uber agent. This is like an orchestration agent. And we can compose many sub-agents, and these sub-agents will run MCP servers. Right now, they are running as one unit. The agent and MCP are one bundle, but we can definitely see these MCP servers as independent systems running, either the agent talking to MCP server directly or through a gateway TBD. But we will give option to the end user whether they want to run these MCP as packaged or as SSC, a streamable interface. So that will make it easy if a third party hosts the MCP server, the agent doesn't have to change. It's basically configurable.
So you're
All
trying
right,
to
so
decouple the agent and the MCP server. That's what you're trying to do, correct?
correct. So today the architecture and the way the agents are implemented, the agent uses a framework, whether it's LangGraph or Strands, and then or something else, and then it has memory, system prompts, etc., etc. And the tool calling is pulled in as an MCP tools. Today, those MCP servers are packaged with the agent container. They're invoked as stdio interface.
Yeah.
We could continue to do that in one of the options, and or the user could choose, hey, I want to use a remotely deployed MCP server over a gateway or directly connected over the wire with auth. Then it'll be another layer of, network calls if folks prefer that. Go ahead, Carlos.
So I would not remove the standard IO option, but keep both options flexible. And I can share an example I did recently on giving the agent an MCP.json, the same MCP.json that Cloud Cloud Amazon Q uses, is an array of it's becoming like a standard like JSON file that you release the MCPs, and I have my agent reading that MCP.json, and some MCPs are packaged internally as standard IOs. Some of them are PyPy, and some of them are like just URLs, remote URLs streaming HTTP. So I think that could be something that we do here also, of like,
Yeah.
just put an mcp.json and then they find whatever you want in there. If you're referring to a folder, there's an MCP folder, server folder in there.
Yeah.
I can share the link in the notes of my repo.
Sounds
but
good. Maybe
but it's trans, it's not LangChain. I need to move it into LangChain also.
I mean, it's actually, I think we should be flexible in supporting multi-framework. If you would like to add that into the support mix here, that would be great. So that's in a nutshell what is happening from a roadmap point of view. So we have a new proposal for release strategy. So if folks can give your thoughts, and Carlos, if you can add some of the notes, we'll clean it up into a more solid proposal. Ask for feedback. I just put a blurb here. Just going over real quick on the initiative roadmap. So some of the activities that are happening, there is some cleanup around MCP code generation, which Arthur will talk about when he's demoing the Commodore agent. Evaluation work. There is a pull request. Everyone take a look at the pull request here. There are a couple, one of them around refactoring for monorepo, one is around LangFuse. So there'll be a demo on that as well. The next one set of things, activities are around, yes, streaming support and adding RAG as a independent agent for unstructured data. I think Ifan will touch on this. I think he moved away from Arise Phoenix to LangFuse. There were some version dependencies that could not be met. That's kind of the update, and we'll touch on this in the demos. So related to the monorepo proposal, I think we answered all of the questions there. Everyone definitely take a look at the idea of monorepo. As we are refactoring, I'm discovering few minor things that we need to address. But overall, on this topic of discussion, is there anything that is unaddressed, or can we call it like, yeah, we kind of got a basic understanding of them?
I think you addressed all the questions, right? So we're
Yeah.
good to go with an implementation, right? Nothing is
Yeah.
written in stone, but I think it's a good progress forward. Just move forward.
Sounds good.
And
I'll
do a
show.
mega PR refactor, moving files around.
Yeah, I think I started to do some initial scaffolding. So I'll show.
One trick, I don't know if you're already doing it. You can use a, what is it? .git keep file for folders are empty.
Yeah.
Just for now, and that way you have the folders.
Yep. I've been doing that, and also I'm using filter branch to retain the commits, so we can basically show the contributors. So for example, in Argo CD, I use git filter branch, so it was able to get
Keep the history, you mean?
yeah, keep the history
Yeah,
from the existing branch. So let me go back and show the history here. So yeah, this retained all of the old history that from the previous repo. Obviously, it has some artifacts that need to be cleaned up. And then I think one change based on
This is like the moving things from within the same repo, or you're talking about moving content from the other repos. I've done that also. It's a little painful way of doing it, but it's achievable. I have combined like my past life, like 10 or 20 repos into one mono repo, and I didn't want to lose any contributions, and it's doable.
Yeah,
to say.
I think I'm following very similar playbook. I think I'm using like the filter branch to get information back here. So yeah, so the one change from the proposal is that we put the server at the root of the agent, and then there is just the client as a subfolder.
Okay.
So that way because really the agent, when you look at it, it's really a server agent, right? The client bindings are pretty small. So and eventually we can combine the agent cards into a single like library function. So the whole client side of the code will be super tiny going forward. It almost will be a couple of lines of code. As these refactors go in, take a look at the PRs, and then we'll do a bigger announcement once it's all once it goes in and there are stable tags for all of this. One notable change is that we pulled out the MCP into its own folder. And then I'm using, and this is still work in progress, I'm using symbolic links to put this into the root of the folder so that we can show MCP servers as its own thing, and we can create like their own containers. But due to the way the packaging works and how the stdio invocation, I have to keep them in the agent folder for now at least. But in future, we may have to, there
Yeah,
was not
I
easy
can
way
take
to.
a look. I solved that issue recently also
Okay.
of an MCP servers folder locally, and then the mcp.json reference to that, and then I use uvx dash from
Yeah.
dash directory. So I have another. That's the example that I put in there.
Great.
How to do it? Yeah.
Yeah, and
It took me a
potentially
while. I don't have 10 years of Python experience, but or UVX, but I was able to do it.
Yeah, I think also this has something to do with the way
The Docker file, which
yeah,
folder do you use, and then also it can be overwritten by an environment variable. I have it.
okay, great. That's perfect. So yeah, I think I use this poetry ad hack.
Oh, what
But
is poetry? I'm not using that.
uh
I'm using
so
UVX or
UV
UV.
works on top of poetry. So
Oh,
yeah,
really?
so
Oh, I learned
so
something new today.
yeah, poetry is kind of like one of the packaging solutions like in Python. So so yeah, it's very popular.
So UV and UVX built on top of poetry?
Mhm.
Okay.
That's my
So learned
understanding.
something
Yeah,
new
I
today.
think they use poetry
I'm
and they can.
using UV and UVX because all the AWS MCP servers are using UVX. Some of the MCP servers that I found online that are using UVX. So I never saw poetry anywhere.
I think they don't. I think UV doesn't have to use poetry, but it can work closely with poetry.
Okay.
So it can work in conjunction, but it can also be an independent packaging solution.
Do we have a hard dependency on poetry or something that we can remove moving
We
forward?
could move away from poetry.
Or why do
It's
we
just,
lose? I guess I'm just asking dumb questions.
I think it has. I mean, it is one way to solve dependencies and create like package management.
Oh, okay.
UV is
We can keep
another
it
way.
then.
I think poetry has other hooks to like linting, roof linting, or you can do commit-to-zen, other things.
Yeah.
I'll have to
Okay.
double click on UV to see if it supports the same. If it does, we could consolidate to one packaging solution.
Yeah, I don't have either or. I think it's fine. I just need to learn poetry then. That's fine.
But we can open a discussion page and see if we can move.
Yeah, whatever the community found it more easy to consume this repo, right?
Yeah.
We'll make it for them.
I mean, we have used combinations of both. Maybe if it's a good idea to consolidate that, we should definitely look into that.
Okay.
I'll open a note here, and that way we can.
I think at the end of the day, that's more of the maintainers interface, because to the public, I think we go with Docker, right? Docker, a container and remote MCPs. Those most of the Docker containers, right? It's
For
the
consumers, yes.
interface for
Yes.
most of the consumption of these things, right?
Absolutely.
Contributions and maintainers is the one that we're going to deal with this, but once we have one established, like that's it. Like we don't have to change things around.
So this is work in progress, but hoping to make some headway by the next time we meet. I think this should be reasonably cleaned up in a solid place with stable tags, and we'll make some headway into the release strategy as well. Carlos, if you can send some info on that, we'll make headway. I want to save rest of the time without further ado to talk about the evaluation work that Ifan did, and then a demo of the Commodore agent and how we can build like an incident management type solution with PagerDuty, Commodore, and a few other things. So Ifan, on to you for showcasing the LangFuse integration.
Oh, cool. We saw last week of Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
So this
And I
LangFuse.
think Ifan discovered a few things that quite didn't work with A2A and LangFuse. So I think Phoenix. I think he kind of pivoted to LangFuse. So yeah, I'll let him explain all of that.
Hi, is my mic enabled? Could you guys hear me? Yeah. All right. So the difference between LangFuse and Phoenix is that we can use the built-in evaluating LangFuse, and there's like a version config of the GNU YouTube tools with the Phoenix. So Phoenix actually not compatible with the latest Python version. So I decided to switch to LangFuse. And I'll show a quick demo about the trace collection and of the LangFuse. All right, let's start the Chai CLI here. Yeah, I'll ask a question about the latest commits of this repo. So the AI platform engineer repo. And wait for a sec. And let's wait for the answer. Yeah, we got the information that showing the latest commit of the AI platform engineer repo. And in the LangFuse, I deployed locally. We can just refresh the page. And here is a new trace generated by LangFuse. And we can check it out here. And here is the trace collection. And we can
Nice.
yeah,
Good diagram. I love that.
yeah, and the thing I'm really like is the tricky diagram like that. Yeah, and we can also see the evaluation results here. So let's go to sorry. I mean, I didn't set up the evaluation, but we can set it up now.
Create him as a judge.
Yeah, we can set up a judge evaluator, and we have to put the API key here.
API key for what?
Resume recording and then. So yeah, when you are ready, reshare Ifan. So basically, I think the rubrics that Ifan is following, whether it's accuracy, correctness, some of these are default ones from LangFuse, and then it uses the LLM as judge.
How LangFuse running? Is running in a container or Docker or your laptop or Kubernetes?
I think he's going to show that, but it's all part of that. There is a PR with a Docker Compose profile.
Oh,
Once
Docker Compose.
yeah, so once the PR gets merged, you can run the AI platform engineering with tracing profile, and it'll open up the whole thing. I think the PR is pending.
So I was looking at LangFuse to run it in Kubernetes like EKS, and they have a Helm chart and things like that. But I saw like a lot of database components, even ClickHouse.
Most of these solutions use like that ClickHouse database when they're doing tracing.
Okay.
So I think that's pretty much unavoidable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we support EKS supports. You can run anything, so I'm happy. Kubernetes is Kubernetes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I didn't know it was a Docker Compose, which is a super useful thing just for running locally, right? And test.
Yeah. I think what we're discovering, and this is what a couple of us mentioned, I'm running out of system CPU and memory because there are too many containers, ClickHouse, LangFuse, and all the agent.
The heavy, yeah.
Yeah.
I was
you
looking
can-
into running into ECAS, running the Helm chart.
Yep. I think my kind is running out of resources. But anyway, I have a Linux box, so you can even open a EC2 VM or any
Yeah.
VM that you have.
So maybe that's something to capture, like put some statements. So when you run this Docker Compose, please change your Docker. If you're using Docker, your Docker VM, increase the, we used to do that in IDP Builder, increase the CPU from 4 to 6 CPUs or something like that, which is the default for Docker. So you run into trouble. That happened with the IDP Builder in Canoe. Ifan, you're ready?
I mean,
Or
I'm
not?
thirsty about the actually the right API key. Maybe I
Yeah, take your time. Why don't we just take because we have 20 minutes left. Let's go to Arthur, get your environment recreated. Arthur, you want to take, kind of swap and do a quick Commodore demo, and we'll come
Oh, I
back.
thought it's doing the Commodore demo. Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I'm taking notes and screenshots so I can
Yeah,
give
thank you.
We'll
We'll do
credit
a
to
quick
people.
Commodore demo, and then we'll come back and give Ifan the rest of the time.
Fine. Doing evaluations, author, doing Commodore.
Cool. I hope everyone can see my screen. So on the right, we have the Commodore Agent server. So that has the MCP tools, and we can ask what can I do just to check the agent's working. So yeah, basically what we did is we linked up this agent in the Commodore API using the OpenAPI MCP generator. So it's kind of fully automated. So the Commodore API was turned into this kind of MCP server that we're then able to make requests to. So in this case, I've asked it to get my clusters. For those of you who don't know Commodore, it's a kind of a single pane of glass for your Kubernetes environments. You see here we have a bunch of environments returned by the agent. So let's ask it, get my Commodore health risks for cluster Java sandbox. So a lot of what Commodore does is kind of aggregate kind of pod, container, service information and find kind of common issues across the services running across clusters. And usually you'd go to UI, but in this case you can talk to an agent. So we can see here there's some identified issues. We can also ask Commodore to talk to Claudia, which is its internal AI for investigation. So trigger RCA for service htbin in Java sandbox cluster in namespace box clusters. So what we're doing now is kind of showcasing, well, if you want to actually talk to Commodore's agent, we can trigger a root cause analysis and then get the result back, which would be useful for, say, an incident commander bot, which needs real-time information on what's going wrong in the cluster. We can ask Commodore, get the RCA result for session with this ID. So this is a kind of async process at the moment for getting the results for the RCA. Yeah, in this case, the RCA is still ongoing, so maybe we can wait a bit and come back to that. In the meantime, I thought I'd highlight what the MCP tools look like. So for example, yeah, this is the kind of tool that was generated for this specific API path that gets the YAML for a service. The MCP generator supports query parameters in the API spec. So for example, in this case, you would need to specify the cluster, namespace, kind, and name. And as part of the tool doc, we have a way to automatically fill in kind of what each parameter means, even if it's not present in the OpenAPI spec. So it's kind of using LLM to enhance the spec. And then we use those parameters to then call the actual API. So let's try again, see if the RCA is completed.
Arthur, while you're doing that, maybe next could you flash the repo that you used to generate the MCP spec? Yeah, after you explain this.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'll show that in a sec. So yeah, we can see here we've done the RCA. And yeah, it's because this deployment had the wrong exit code, and yeah, this was done through kind of agent to agent communication, which is quite cool. Yeah, so going to the repo, that was sorry, that was a personal tab. Going to the repo, so if we go to MCP generator.
You may need to reshare your browser. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, let me reshare. Okay. Can you see this?
That's a new repo in Canoe.
For me, it shows it's only sharing part of the screen. Are you able to see the whole thing, or is it still just?
Oh, we see the Open API MCP.
Yeah, we see that.
Gen. Oh, okay. So the example of this Commodore is in this repo in the examples folder.
No. So this one was used for Argo, but we have also used it for Commodore. But yeah, there's docs here, and if you want to turn kind of any OpenAPI spec into MCP server. But yeah, we've done examples for Argo and PetStore, but you can also do it for your kind of your own use cases.
I see. So you use this tool to generate a Commodore MCP server using the Commodore OpenSpec API. Is that the flow?
Yeah, exactly. So if I go to, yeah, sorry, carry on.
And then the second question is for the group here, Sri and Arthur, like I've seen other people have done similar things like this, generating MCP servers out of OpenSpec APIs on the fly. Like you don't have to generate the MCP server as code and running as code, like the agent using a tool, making the MCP OpenSPI spec generator a tool to the agent to generate the MCP server out of any remote OpenSpec API, and then suddenly now it has powers to do Commodore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I've seen that too. I think Fast MCP, which we use in that Open API, does support that. I don't know how good the doc strings in the Open API spec are. One thing we added was to enhance the doc strings.
We can do that.
Okay.
So that was my question. Can we
Yeah.
do that in the agent on the fly, that enhancement that you're saying?
That would be a bit harder. Yeah, because you what the agent is just pulling in all the tools to give to the LLM. I mean, could we do it in real time? Maybe. I think it could be a bit more, because it's a bootstrapping problem, right? When the LLM is getting bootstrapped, it sucks up all the tools from MCP.
That you're referring to a current implementation, right? I'm talking about a future implementation where MCP servers are dynamically discovered in an MCP registry, for example. You can go to a registry saying, find me a tool that can give me the weather, and then finally you get a URL, right? Also can say, I don't have an MCP server. I have an OpenSpec API. Then you go to the OpenSpec API and you got that, and you generate an MCP tool
I
or
see what
server,
you're saying. Yeah.
augment the OpenSpec API, and then use it on the fly.
Yeah, I think that could be an interesting enhancement. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, instead of even statically generating it, you are
Exactly.
just saying, yeah.
So I was trying to articulate that if that's something that is worth investigating, because yeah, having a folder with MCP servers that you spend a week generating them is 2025. Where are we in 2026? We're still doing that? That's the question.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but there's also the option, the notion of MCP proxies, which are doing this like you explained it. So they generally just proxy an open API and they generate it on the fly somehow, or you don't have to pre-generate it.
Yeah, and the other thing maybe to capture also in this call, so people like, all right, this project wants to like innovate around the pushing the edge, is eventually like APIs that people offer, like just take Commodore as an example. Commodore offers you a OpenSpec API, REST API. I'm thinking maybe in the future companies will start offering hosted MCP API. So now you have a URL to Commodore, right? Commodore is hosting an API that is MCP protocol, and we just connect to a URL and we do the OAuth flow and whatever authentication we need from machine to machine.
I
Yeah,
think
in the
Atlassian does that, but they only do it with Cloud Desktop. But
it'll
one,
it'll
go
take
ahead.
some time, but the idea would be Commodore will eventually have MCP and then even A2A type
Yep.
interaction,
Yep.
where like for example that what will be interesting there is like let's say if you had A2A type interaction, it could be bidirectional almost. So you
Yep.
could have
Exactly.
something like the AI platform engineer doing obviously it can initiate things, but then if somebody is using Commodore platform on that sense, you can ask kind of like, hey, I'm trying to solve this, what additional context do you have, or how do you how can I enhance my troubleshooting or that type of interaction. So you could have these type of bidirectional flows to enhance like any type of experience around enterprise and whatnot. So
Yeah. I think my only caveat with on the fly MCP, not the hosted ones, is we will lose some capability around like evaluation because we want to, the agent is a combination of all the system prompts, memory, and other things along with the tools. It pulls in a version capability of tools. We have seen that like in some cases, like create application in Argo CD, it's like a 100 parameter function. So I don't know how LLMs can we'll have to double click on that and see if dynamic creation versus maybe if the end result is always the same. And yeah.
I mean, two parts, right? I think one of the goals is to really create, production grade agents that people can count on, right? So for that, we need to reach that accuracy and drive that adoption. So it may be the case that, we have to use, what's kind of, robust and even in, if we have to do certain things statically or do the evaluation, it may make sense. That drives the adoption. But then on the other side, we keep iterating and evolving, and then we can look at how do we and give a migration path, right? Because the point is the tech is not stable yet, right? Things are a lot more changes will happen, right? I think 6 months from now we will have to so for example like the two internal Jarvis, open source Jarvis, we've had to make major pivots, right? So similar to that, fast forward another 6 months, there will be some aspects that we'll have to kind of fundamentally take into account. But the important thing is like uh, and when we establish this community, we have to give the path from A to B to C, right? So it can't be like so anybody who's adopting the current version, we need to have a migration path. And then also I think also be comfortable, right? You can't be necessarily stuck and holding kind of like I'm on version A, and the you can't have it's supported for like more than 3 months. If you have some kind of a breaking change or something big, you have a migration path, but you need to kind of like really do that work and move it, right? So but yeah, Irfan had a question.
Yeah, good discussion. Thank you, Arthur, for the demo. And Irfan, are you ready to?
Yeah, let's go to Ifan to see the evaluations, which is the topic that we
Yeah.
just discussed on that evaluations. We can use it to enhance the NCP servers that we're generating. I think that's what I heard, DRDR.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, TLDR. Yep. Go ahead, Irfan.
So this is the dashboard of the evaluation. So this is actually the built-in evaluator for the Memphis. We can see the value here for the trace. So the hallucination, correctness, and goal accuracy, and it generates comment for that. I'll quickly show the evaluated evaluators which is provided by LandFuse. So there are plenty of charge evaluators, and here are the things that are created. And we can set up other evaluators here, and we can create custom evaluator as well. So the thing I'm currently working on is actually trying to create a custom evaluator to make a trajectory match. So which is not included in the built-in evaluator. And
Trajectory, you say?
yeah, the
Evaluation?
trajectory match. So it's actually the routing of the line chain.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can there's this score page which will show the evaluation results for the new traces. And
what's the score that we have here? 100%, 90%, or?
I mean, the score is from 0 to 1, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, and there's a comment for that. So one represent is correctly functional.
Oh, 0, 1, true or false is the score?
I mean, the score is not binary. It's like a, I think it's from the 0, 0.1, 0.2 to 1, something like that.
So do I see here like the first one got 0 and the other one's got perfect score, 1 and 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's only one trace, right? So I think if we add
That's the
multiple,
one trace. Yeah, that's the same trace ID. Yeah.
if we asked multiple questions and then we can aggregate, let's say we had a data set of questions, give me the JIRAs for, find who is on call, etc., then you compose a set of your data set of your input prompts, like questions that you want to ask this multi-agent system. Then we will have our evaluation criteria, or as LLM as judge doing the evaluation. I think that's what we need to build, like a CI pipeline or something like that. Say, hey, for a given change, let's say we have 100 questions, we think these are the most common questions, then we go through an LLM as judge and do some regression on.
And we can do that in a pull request, right, to evaluate if the change is moving backward and forward. So I had a question. You mentioned something around like we have to be careful because the generated MCP servers, we need to run evaluations on top of it to make them better and not use them on the fly. So how do you see a system where these evaluations are enhancing the generated MCP servers? How that pipeline looks like, that automation looks like?
I mean, I'm currently not working on the MCP servers, so I kind of have no idea.
I think it would be like in the trajectory evaluation. Ultimately, in the trajectory, you're calling a specific tool, right? So you issue a system prompt like, show me the last commit for this repo.
Mm-hmm.
And the first part of the trajectory is hitting the GitHub agent, and the GitHub agent is calling a specific MCP tool. And that's where like the MCP, how good the tools are and their doc strings to be able to call, like, get commit history or something like that, which would be the tool that would be used in that case. I mean, in the case of GitHub agent, in fairness, we didn't write the MCP, right? It's a third party or official MCP server. If you were to write like Commodore MCP server, let's say there is if you're using a static version, our evaluation would say, hey, did we is our accuracy score with the prompt data set does it remain the same between two versions of MCP servers? So that would be the way to look benchmark them.
Yeah, I mean,
does that make sense, Carlos? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I suggest if we wanted to evaluate a single MCP server, we can just set it up the evaluation on this agent repo rather than in the main repo. So, did you get what I mean?
Yeah, I think evaluating the agent in isolation right?
Yeah,
So here we are evaluating the agents in the context of other agents. So this is evaluating agent of agents. So if we were to like evaluate agents in isolation, then we can like do accuracy and more closer to trajectory, the tool trajectory.
Yeah. What I was
see
asking,
Gaurav.
yeah, so I understand that like using evaluations to get the scores of that MCP server that we just generated.
Yeah.
I was asking what is the next thing to do? How can we use agentic to run the evaluation, get the results, go back to the MCP server folder and update that MCP server
Yeah.
description, tools, prompts, resources, or maybe create prompts, create new resources, create new tools, or combine a tool that is a combination of multiple tools, or update the system prompt of the that MCP agent. Can we automate that? I think that's what you were saying. Like, we cannot do it on the fly because we need a life cycle, right? Of going that MCP server got generated this week, and then next week it gets better because we run evaluations, and then out of the evaluations we modify, updated that MCP server, and we release a new version of it a week from now. How do we automate that for 100 agents, right? That we're generating.
I think it's
Or you see that that's not a good idea. That's what I was asking. I thought that's what the previous
Just want to
discussion.
give a quick comment here. This is Gaurav here. So what I understand is with LangFuse, we can do end-to-end agent evaluation. And if we are just interested in improving the, the quality of dynamically generated MCP or improving the description there, I would say the agent evaluation for that, this is one of the component. There will be other factors also, like the prompt itself or the LLM that is used itself. So I think, I mean, again, I'm not giving a solution here, but just wanted to highlight that LangFuse is at agent level and not just the MCP or the tool use level. We may want to do a little bit more investigation, like just are there mechanisms or solutions or specific prompts that can be more targeted towards the MCP tool efficiency, and then maybe, Carlos, then we could have a life cycle where we have a more targeted approach of measuring the quality of MCP itself. Right now, LangFuse at this moment, at least with this demo, I understand is at more agent level, and there will be more components that will be a factor into the scoring itself.
Yeah.
So just a comment here.
No, I think that's great. I think we need a proposal for evaluating the quality of MCP tools.
Yeah, and it gets to a point. It gets to a point that the return on investment of keeping enhancing an MCP tool, it doesn't return that much. Like, we're burning money to enhance an MCP tool that is good enough for an agent to know, like, yeah, I know what it is. So you don't have to put more descriptions and burn more context with more text in that MCP server.
Yeah.
So I was trying to play devil's advocate. So, Jeffan, your question for you. Do we have this in the repo examples on how to pass the tracing from the client to the A2A agent? I guess that you figure that out, how to pass context from agent to agent to the tracing that was capturing LangFuse.
Yeah, I actually worked for a long time for that, but eventually, this is actually the trace that we got from the main agent line graph. So, and it's the A2A course was not actually captured in the line graph there, in the LangFuse trace here.
Okay, so maybe that's an issue that we should open, because that's something I'm looking at of the tracing information and the A2A communication, A2A to A2A, right? Agent from agent over A2A to get that transaction. So I thought that we're showing.
This is doing the multi-agent at this moment. Obviously it's calling the individual agents, but it's not tracing once it crosses the distributed boundary. It's just evaluating, does it hit the GitHub agent? Because you're getting the responses back, it's checking question to response accuracy and those. That when we get to trajectory, and this is another, because if we evaluate the agents individually, then we could publish their own results and say, hey, that could be another way to do it. I think Ifan found some difficulty doing distributed tracing. It's not done by any means yet, but it's like, this is the first phase of enabling it into the repo.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I found struggling to connect those traces together because each trace was actually a chain trace, and it's so. What is the like? May I ask you what do you guys think is the ideal trace for the 8-way communicating, like the actual 8-way calls? So what is the ideal trace is going to be like?
I mean, in a perfect world, A to A is like transparent, right? So your trace goes from user query all the way to the tool call, so we can detect. It goes to the supervisor, goes to the sub-agent, goes to the tool call, and we are able to see the entire trace. I think today, as you have trace, it stops at the client side of the supervisor. If we could also correlate that it goes to the server A2A and then it does its own React loop, in some cases there could be multiple agents.
Yep.
Maybe two multi-agent systems are talking to each other. If you could get all the way to the leaf node of the end-to-end trace, that would be ideal.
Yep.
I think we should write I mean, this requires more detailed work. It's very complex problem, but we should write at least a story to work towards that.
I
Yeah,
agree.
just a quick comment here. So if we look at open inference protocol, it defines different spans in context of
Yep.
AI agents or agentic workflows. I think for me, the North Star would be if there is any of those span types, whether it is agent, tool call, prompt, knowledge base, if there is any of them involved in that interaction in a distributed fashion, everything should be captured. That's kind of a North Star, I would say.
You're saying that we should use open inference protocol?
So what I understand is that when we use open telemetry with LangFuse, the spans that are generated, they align with the span kind of open inference protocol. So open inference is nothing but it defines the standard spans for an agentic workflow. There are like 8 or 9 types of spans, and each span identifies a type of interaction in an agentic workflow, like an agent-based, a tool-based, knowledge-based, or LLM calls. So if there, in my opinion, I mean, I can also look into a little bit more just to make sure that things are aligned from LangFuse perspective. But in my opinion, if any of those interaction type is there in your agentic workflow, it should be captured.
Can you do a take an action item to, because I Google open inference span types and I found like 5 links. You can
Yeah.
put in the notes like what specific
Yeah.
to get that information so people can read it on like
Yeah,
the types
sure.
of spans and open inference. And also if you want to help in this area, right? I think it's important to have more people than Yifang working together, right? You can work async.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mentioned in the comment too, like, I mean, I will run through what Ifan has built. Ifan, whatever you have built, I will try it out in my environment once you check in. And again,
And
like, look at the different spans that are generated and also the alignment with open inference.
there's a PR open, right, Fang? You said?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get that merged soon. I think there is one more .compose change. Once that goes in, we'll
Cool. Just
yeah,
capturing
Ifan will
the,
merge it.
is it PR 24?
Let me double check. I think that sounds right. 23. Sorry, 24. Yeah, 24.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's
For
24.
sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. It's super cool. This is like helping me also in other in the strengths version of this. So this is super helpful.
Awesome. And if you could, Carlos, good idea to add an AWS example from MCP. Like it could be a strands example.
Yeah.
That way we have multi-framework example in our AI platform engineering. That would be a great way to add one.
Yeah, let me add an issue to capture that in the roadmap. Well, yeah, we can add it. We can add it to the roadmap. I can open the issue here. Then all the issues will live in this repo. Okay, cool.
I know we went over a little bit, but this has been a great demo and discussion. Any last words from anyone? If not, for folks in US, have a great 4th of July holiday, and we'll see you all next week, following week. And we have some topics of discussion, so let's continue some of that offline with release and stuff.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you both for the demos. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Take care.
great demos. Thank you so much.
Bye.